there's a very splendid book by Anne Fausto Sterling, which she says she could have called it The Five Sexes, and that is there really are just more than the world being divided into the binary of female, male. It's much more complicated than that. The real material world of people's bodies and the real world of how they think about themselves. So life out there is really much more fun than mere binaries.
Can we do it? Can we go on to the politics, or do you want
Yeah, well, I can maybe bridge to the
find
politics.
what
No, I can
well,
bridge.
then do.
Yeah.
We'll come to that then.
So it seems to me that there's still a continuum, and what the interesting questions are that you're raising are questions of where along the continuum that I'm going to describe we should place things like male and female. So there are clear cases where reality is constructed by language. Take legal reality. It's entirely constructed by language. If you change what the statutes and legislation are, you change legal reality. That's a very clear case. A lot of social conventions are actually constructed by reality and by social practices. Very, very clear that if those practices were any different, then the social facts would change. Then there are cases where we think some sciences are actually getting closer to limiting the edges and the structure of reality. They're actually getting at something, trying to carve nature at the joints. Now the question is where we put some of these interesting cases, because I think what worries you is that things that you would believe are more at the social and conventional end are being described as though they were carving nature at the joints. But I still think there's a sliding continuous scale where we want to know, for any of the terms we're using, for any of the theoretical tools we're using, where are we on that continuum? What I see from Hilary is a kind of dissolving of that distinction, just saying that it's all constructed by language. I don't think that's right.
Okay. Could you give us an example of a binary that you think is real?
I gave you,
it's outside of language.
I gave you two. I said positive and negative charge in particles, carbon, non-carbon things, alkali, acids. I mean,
so
how many do you want?
Those three are all use scientific terminology. And the reason that you've gone for them is because science looks as if it is a definitive description of the world, because we have a framework in which we imagine that this is a precise and accurate story. But I
can hear all that. I can hear all that, and that sounds perfectly fine. But the particles don't wait for us to decide the science. The particles get on with it by themselves. The acids and the alkalis.
So give me an example of a particle.
The acids and the alkalis get on with it by themselves. Carbon does not grow with non-carbon things into a new life form.
These particles have changed over time, haven't they? Once upon a time, they were atoms. Now they're then they were neutrons and protons.
No, the theory has changed.
Now
what we described hasn't changed, Hilary.
And so forth.
No,
and
they
all of those.
No, they haven't changed. It's the same thing. Look, if you say they've changed
so
every time.
So what is the thing that it is outside of the description?
It's the thing that caused us to be interested. So here's Hilary's view. The ancients used to think that stars were pinpricks in a fabric behind which the fire was blazing. And now we know they're balls of gas out there in space. Now, do you say they used to be pinpricks in the fabric, now they're balls of gas because we've changed the theory? No, the very same thing which caused us to look at them, think about them, and have a view of them is the very same thing we had a false view of, and I hope we have a better view of. You don't think that the reality depends on the language and on us.
But don't you see that scientists actually have a very sad life in one respect, and that is that what happens to them in an experimental scientist, what they find is that nearly everything that they found and gave them such joy and excitement while they were doing it, that sense of certainty, you absolutely know with the same kind of certainty that they're not going to be happy in a while, because all their lovely facts that they built are going to be left behind by further work. And I've always seen science as, in a sense, both giving great joy at the time and then great sadness after, because nobody gives a stuff about what you thought, the work you found.
Yeah, Luciano, do you want to come in there and perhaps you can lead us towards the end of whatever it is you're about to say into something more about what you think the benefits of rejecting too much binary thinking will be, and we'll try and have a little bit of discussion of the political side of it before we have questions.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll start with the original metaphor about cooking, and I think that might be helpful. Some people might say it's all about the recipe. It's the recipe. It's language. forget about anything else. You got the recipe, the rest is just follows. Some other people, and nobody here, will say it's all about the ingredients. The ingredients are real, and that's what really makes the difference. And the ingredients will dictate the dish, and you know what it is. The truth is that given those ingredients, you can cook only certain kind of things. If you have in your fridge only bacon and eggs, you will not have a pizza. There is no way. And this is my realist position. No, bacon and eggs will give you a fantastic bacon and eggs for breakfast. They will never, ever, no matter what your language says, they will never give you a pizza. Now, having said that, if your fridge is a little bit bigger and you have more perceptions and more room for maneuver, sometimes, like for example in the legal system, well, there's a lot that can be done with those ingredients. And your recipes will generate different kind of dishes. They are still constructed by the ingredients, what we call in real philosophy, constraining affordances. They are constraining because they put you there. They are affordances because they enable you certain kind of things while not enabling some others. Data, constraining affordances, will allow you to cook some kind of dishes, will not allow you to cook some others. I mean, no matter what you do. So next time you go to the doctor and he says, I'm afraid you might have cancer. Well, don't try any linguistic game with that, because it will be a bad idea. But next time you go to a lawyer, well, if the lawyer says, oh, we might have a problem here, maybe about your taxes, you sure there's no way around of this somehow? So I think that, unfortunately, it's a bit of both. But when it comes to whether we should or should not use binaries and what's the help that can come from them, I'm afraid it maybe comes with age, but unfortunately. But thinking that yes, no, useful, useless, it really depends unknowingly on what you do with them. And if you teach philosophy to young minds, you will know that they will be captured by binaries.